People keep talking about AI as making mistakes. Oh, it made a mistake. It's doing this. Okay, are you kidding me? It makes much fewer mistakes than a
Absolutely.
human does every day.
Absolutely.
We screw up all the time. So if this thing makes one or two mistakes or puts a space in it, or you can go, oh, that looks like it was written by AI. That is the stigma we have to get over because
Absolutely.
that is the future. That is no different than saying this was cooked in a microwave. I mean, if we're really going to have this conversation about AI and technology eliminating jobs, we need to go back in history and understand this is what we want. If we don't want this and we don't want to have that, then we shouldn't dream the dreams that we dream. This is going to happen. You know, we no longer have a paper boy that delivers my newspaper every morning. Why? Because it's online. We read it, we get our news, social media. It's changed. Hiring is slowing down. It's not because of AI. AI is not slowing the hiring down. That's not it. Companies haven't caught up to the speed of what AI is doing, and they're not sure how to utilize it in the right way, and people are scared.
I think the crux of it that people need to understand is that a lot of things that humans do, with or without AI, that's very human dependent. You can't have AI to replicate that. You're talking about the attitude, you're talking about fitment. There are a lot of the soft elements of dealing with people, dealing with outcomes, dealing with probably a lot of those functions that we have within organizations, which machines may not be able to do in the near future, at least. Hello, everybody. Thanks once again for joining Hyreo Rise series of podcast. And today I've got a very, very different topic, very interesting topic. And I've got a very interesting founder as well with us to talk about the AI and the myths around AI in recruiting and hiring process per se. I've got a person who has done this from the front, who's done this many, many years as a founder, as a champion of technology, as a champion of different transformations that have happened in the last 20, 25 years. A pleasure to welcome Bill Kasko to our podcast today, founder and CEO of Frontline Source Group, something that started in 2005. Last 20 years, he's been to recruiting, HR transformation, innovations in this space. A pleasure to have you, Bill, with us today.
Thank you very much. It's been a journey for the two of us to connect, so I appreciate the opportunity to be here.
Thank you, Bill. Do you want to talk a little bit about Frontline Source Group, a little bit about your experience for the audience?
Yeah, I appreciate that. So we've been there, this is our 21st year in business, and started really with the idea of just placing, it's interesting because 21 years ago it was about placing people one at a time. And making those connections. And that was really before the technology boom. I think our industry as a whole, we're probably and historically have run 10 to 15 years behind when it comes to technology. And it's because that our bandwidth that we play in placing, executives and developers and all of these different areas within office settings for companies across, really for us across the country. But there's so many different environments from a technology standpoint that we've always, as an industry, just been behind. And not until recently did we really start to see this change happen. So the company, the bandwidth across the entire country, our clients range from small startups, or even it could be a 2, 3, 5 person office, and the largest employer in the entire world is a client of ours. So we're very proud of what we've done over 21 years, but for us, it's been adapting and changing and growing and learning. And right now we're just trying to stay a step ahead. And I'll tell you, every day is a challenge. So we're very, very lucky to have made it through all these ups and downs, but it's been quite the challenge to get to where we're at today.
Thank you so much, Bill. 20 years is a long, long time, but I'm pretty sure you've seen different ways of technologies coming in and go. And why I said in the beginning that it's an interesting conversation today is because we are doing some, we're going to bust some myths around AI in recruiting. And I'm going to start off with this very, very simple question. I know it's something that's very close to your heart, but can you tell me that first aha moment that you went through when you were in some form of shape convinced that AI could solve real problems, unlike some of the technologies that has come in the past, especially from a recruiting background?
Yeah, so it interesting story, and it really is true. When I started the company, it was just me. And so I started, I was the recruiter, I was the sales guy, I was HR, I was accounting, I was the web developer. I was doing it all, and it wasn't physically possible. And I think that was the first moment that I realized part of this process for us to grow and to scale correctly was automation. And automation was all about how do we do things, how can one person do things more efficient and cover more ground. And so 21 years ago, I built the first website. I built it in Front Page, which is even to this day is still kind of funny to even say that. But we had an online chat capability 21 years ago. We've been a customer of that same provider for 21 years. It was the only way that I could actually do what I needed to do and multi-function with a product that allowed individuals an experience when they went to the website to ask a question. I found a void that was there, which was they wanted answers immediately. In the traditional way, which again, as I said in the beginning, we're about 10, 15 years behind in technology, is that we want everyone to call us so we can get them on the phone because then they go into your sales pitch. And I built the company around saying, let's do the opposite. Let's look at that experience that they're going to have, because they're not going to have an experience like when they go to Starbucks. It's not going to be like going to, Tiffany's. And they're not going to walk in the door and it's not. It's just going to be a different one. But how can we make that a better experience? So I uncovered it was time. Just like I had a limited amount of time, that customer had a limited amount of time. So the first time I realized that this automation, this multitasking, it wasn't going to be something crazy, and it was actually out there. It just wasn't ready yet. So that was the beginning aha moment, which is interesting. No one's ever asked me that. We still, though, use that product. Now, I will tell you that product that we had back then, they've never upgraded to AI, true AI. They've stayed with the roots of what they do. And I asked that a couple of years ago, because as we started going through the chatbot revolution and all of these other things, I'm like, don't you guys have that? And they said, no, we really built this as a platform for that online conversation, and we're not going to deviate from it. I thought, okay, well, you're going to be left behind. But we've still stuck with it. And so we just built on that as we went forward with the technology.
Maybe this is the time that we should be looking at having more upgrades to that platform, but more about that on a later conversation. But talking about myths around AI, what do you think is something that's very, very popular yet misleading? For example, we've been asked questions because we are a technology company focused on recruiting. We've been asked this question, hey, is this possible that AI can instantly find the perfect candidate for my job? Is that really possible, or is AI really going to be to that level at some point in time? So that's a very intriguing question. Also, it's very simple. It has so many nuances and layers to it, right? So what do you think about that?
So I'm going to go back to what I said originally, which is that this is an enhancement that allows you to basically multitask and do a lot of different things. So if we go back in history, because we know history repeats itself, when the microwave came out 45 years ago, whatever it may be, I don't know, it's at least that, let's say, maybe it could be coming up on 50. The whole idea behind it was, how can we do things quicker in the kitchen? And when we look at the AI technology, we have to really embrace it as being that exact same thing. It's not the end all fix all. Look, when a microwave came out, they said we wouldn't have chefs and cooks anymore in restaurants. That's not true. We still have to have the chefs and the cooks. Denny's may have an awful lot of microwaves in their, in the kitchen, but they still have someone running everything. And so the technology that's there and the AI agents that can now go to pull the information, gather it, put it together, it still has to have a human touch, take a look at it. Well, what does that mean? So we're probably in about the revolution, like a 3.0 of the voice and the automation of a technical AI recruiter. In fact, we have one. We've had one for almost two and a half years. We've been beta testing. We've been through different cycles of this. AI recruiter that gathers the information from our database, makes the phone calls, and tries to do these interviews. Until the technology is there to make the empathy come through, the feeling of a human touch, we're still very leery about it. And so what we have is a product that is allowing us to be, multitask, be more efficient, but it still doesn't do it all the way to the end. Will it get all the way to the end? Well, maybe. I mean, the microwave can make my dinner, but I still got to put it in there and still got to take it out. So what are we really looking for? What is it that we really want? The other problem with this is that we're not making dinner. We sell people, we sell an experience, we sell careers, we sell the way that someone is able to make an income for their family. I don't know. I don't want to say it's never going to happen, because it probably will. I just don't know that what we're looking at in the recruiting industry will be as many recruiters as we had. We could even go 5 years ago. When we look 5 years ahead, will we need as many? Well, no. I mean, we already knew that was going to happen. And why? Well, I talked about automation. Automation was the digital automation in particular was the beginning of kind of laying it up for what was coming. How do we take these massive databases? How do we get out to the vast majority of people? How do we get in front of them? These trends were all happening. We watched the day of making a phone call to leaving a voice message to now no one checks their voice messages. You can make a phone call, but they're not going to answer, or you're in the middle of leaving a message and they can hear it and they answer your call. Or you leave a message, you never hear from them, or you leave a message, they call and say, you called me, and you're like, well, I left a message. They go, oh, I didn't listen to it. All of these are just functional ways that we've changed as humans and as a culture, the way that we react, the way that we do things. We don't want to take phone calls. We want text messaging. Then we go through a phase of, we don't want a text message. Now we're answering phone calls. Then we go through the phase of robocalls and blocking and numbers blocked and spam. And I mean, don't even go down the road of the scams. I don't know what's coming, but I do know that the recruiting piece with AI, it's something you have to embrace, but it's also something you have to look at. We used to look at technology as changing every 18 to 36 months. It was about the amount of time it took to adapt something new. Today, it can be 18 to 36 days. It could be 18 hours. I think this morning when I got up, I took a look at my email. I already had like 4 different products that were being pitched to me. Everybody's coming up with an idea about how can we take something and make our life better. Again, I'm going to go back to the microwave. The microwave made our life better. It's such an easy thing to think about. But when that came out, there was a whole revolution from a technology standpoint that we went through. And people may not remember, but that was the day of the Atari. That was the day of the VHS or beta tapes to record TV shows and the big clunky equipment. And now today it's in the cloud, or we don't even have that. It's all about how do we become more efficient, and then how do we look at it as an industry and as a people? Because at the end of the day, the individuals still want to be treated a certain way. And that's probably the hardest part of this. That discussion is one that I think isn't happening. And that is that until people really adapt, embrace, and look at AI differently, then it's still going to be a struggle for us to get there. But just look at what's happened in the past year and a half. That if you really think about it, we're only a year and a half into ChatGPT stuff, maybe 2 years, right? And think about the first time you used it. And I know for myself, first time I used it, I went, holy crap. I mean, you're kidding me. And even today, I've watched that I've gone from a different platform, trying another platform, and just recently went to even a third now, where I'm like, holy cow, this is amazing what it's doing. But there's still problems, and that's part of it.
Absolutely. I can't agree with you more, because I think what's happening now, which I feel, Bill, is that it's transforming industries. It's transforming from consulting to manufacturing to recruiting to finance to insurance. But one thing is for sure, there are certain pockets where AI seems to be working really, really well. Certain industries have obviously embraced it more than others, and they've seen that outcomes coming in a faster pace than many others. Maybe recruiting will do a little bit more catch up in the coming years to do. But taking a segue from that, so where are those areas that you feel, if you take the entire recruiting process, right, from a demand coming in to the job description to this, and getting the person onboarded, in your view, where is AI making the most impact, or I think AI can do the most impact?
Yeah, you hit on something that I hadn't thought about till you just said that. But look, you could just start with something basic as the job description, right? And so if we look at traditional creating a job description, someone sits down and comes with some ideas, they throw something together. It's probably one of the parts of hiring that people hate the most, right? They don't really want to do it. And at the end of the day, they really don't want to dissect that. They don't want to really go through it. And a hiring manager, they're like, I need a person that does this, this, and this, right? And that's not really a job description. You really have to dig down into soft skills and other pieces and functions. And so one of the beauties of AI is to utilize that to enhance what you're looking for to create a really great job description. Now, I say all that, and yet people still don't truly read a job description. They only see one part and they think they're 100% fit. So then that goes back to the whole question of, are we really adding value or not adding value? But it's important that AI is able to go and look at all of the different types of data that's out there, pull this information in, and then put it into something that's concise, that you can really look at and say, that's what I'm looking for. The beauty of it is that the ability for us to then go in to massage it the right way, to make sure it's right, to add, to remove, to tweak it in certain ways, I think it is just such a time-saving item. I think a lot of HR managers just look at creating a job description as it's going to suck the life out of me. And that is a huge piece of it. So from a functional standpoint, I think that's a fantastic example. The other piece of AI, specifically with agents, and I go back again to what I talked about when I started the company, was that experience that an individual has. So when they go and apply, depending on how they do it, right? We've been through the phase over the years of the quick apply. They just go down and they click on everything and they haven't looked at it and they're going to apply. The ability to immediately communicate back to someone, acknowledging, hey, we have your information. So for years we've heard, hey, I apply to something, it's in a hole, nobody sees it. And what we have tried to do for 21 years is to create that experience to make sure they know, follow our process. Now, people, they don't care. They'll argue with you all day long. And I'm kind of blown away even today. We'll have someone say, this is our process, this is the way you do it. And they'll tell us, no, that's not how you do it. This is how you're going to do it. And you're like, why would I even want to hire you? Your attitude just sucks. That's never going to change. So instead, what we have to do is try to make the experience for them coming in better, which means communication. And the one thing about AI that it does so well is, again, go back to handling multiple tasks that I can't do all at the same time. One person can't. Even 100 people can't. And so it eliminates, and it's an extra safety net to make sure communication is there. We're letting them know we have it. And then it also allows us then to go back to do the searching, to bring in a criteria that is closer to anything that we've ever seen based on those their backgrounds, what they have on the paper. The problem is then you take it, it's like peeling the onion, right? You keep peeling and discover, okay, so now we're going to go back to the day of stuffing a bunch of stuff on a resume of words that make absolutely no sense. And they don't really help, or they bring them up and they're not a fit. Well, with AI, as they learn things, as we say, no, that's not the right fit, they're learning this person, that's not the right fit. Drill down closer, get to a closer match. Try to get us people that meet 85%, 80% of what we're looking for. And as it starts to learn the traits of the recruiter, we get better and better at that, which means the funnel of people that we're contacting, which 2 years ago, we went through the phase, you get a position in, we're having to contact 40, 50 people to get to one. With AI, it's breaking that down. We're back to having 12 to pick from that are true matches. And so now when we look at scaling, because companies want to bring the pricing down, they want better value, we can scale better because we're not having as much expense from the human capital side within the company. Then the argument is, well, AI is eliminating jobs. I go back again to the microwave. I mean, if we're really going to have this conversation about AI and technology eliminating jobs, we need to go back in history and understand this is what we want. If we don't want this and we don't want to have that, then we shouldn't dream the dreams that we dream. This is going to happen. You know, we no longer have a paper boy that delivers my newspaper every morning. Why? Because it's online. We read it, we get our news, social media. It's changed. That's part of this. By the way, I don't ride a horse to work anymore either. So, I mean, this is all part of it, but there's so much discussion and noise around it that it distracts us to think that it's right now, especially here in the States, hiring is slowing down. It's not because of AI. AI is not slowing the hiring down. That's not it. Companies haven't caught up to the speed of what AI is doing, and they're not sure how to utilize it in the right way, and people are scared. HRs, managers, data entry people, call center, receptionists. I mean, look at a receptionist in a business. You don't think they were scared when we had PBX systems with automated voice systems come out? Of course they were. They're like, my job, it's going to be gone. But we still need people in a corporate office at the front desk or in a company. There are other things we can train people on, other skill sets. We just have to think outside the box. But I think blaming it all on AI is not the answer right now. The answer is to figure out, how does it fit into your environment? What works and doesn't work? And the shiny new squirrel that goes running across your screen every week doesn't necessarily mean jump on it first. Let somebody else figure it out, see if it even works.
Right. I agree with you 100%. I think you answered a follow-up question also that I had, because I think a lot of what you said, Bill, is music to my ears, because a lot of what we do is around enhancing the experience, using technology to stay connected, which we were not doing. Humans were not in touch with candidates as frequently as our chat agent or our voice agents are in touch with them. We are filling a void. We are not directly taking somebody's job out. We are actually making a larger positive impact on somebody's job by being more responsive, being more accurate. That's right. Because you know that machines usually, if it's about data, it's about questions. If it's about queries that needs to be resolved, they don't digress. You for most parts you can keep it quite direct to the audience. But having said that, I also believe that what you said, and that's where I think the crux of it that people need to understand, is that a lot of things that humans do, with or without AI, that's very human dependent. You can't have AI to replicate that. You're talking about the attitude, you're talking about fitment. There are a lot of the soft elements of dealing with people, dealing with outcomes, dealing with probably a lot of those functions that we have within organizations, which machines may not be able to do in the near future, at least with every form of super intelligence or super AI, whichever way we call it. I think we still have a long way to go. But I think the essence is, which are those low-hanging fruits which you take a top-down approach and start doing an evaluation and figuring out whether AI can essentially work, right? Now, one of those...
Look, people keep talking about AI as making mistakes. Oh, it made a mistake. It's doing this. Okay, are you kidding me? It makes much fewer mistakes than a human does every day. We screw up all the time. So if this thing makes one or two mistakes or puts a space in it, or you can go, oh, that looks like it was written by AI. That is the stigma we have to get over, because that is the future. That is no different than saying this was cooked in a microwave. We literally go to Denny's and IHOP and it's cooked in a microwave, and guess what? We don't complain about it anymore. And so it will happen. It's just, we're not there. We are literally in the beginning of the microwave era. And until we get over that, we're going to hear this nonstop.
I'll give you a very short story, 30 seconds, Bill. I was on a call with a customer, where we were presenting our AI agents, which can do CV matching to job descriptions that are out there and give you a recommended set of profiles. And the question came up was around fairness. Are we really doing a good job at providing a fair chance for everybody? And then I try to explain the algorithm and what we're doing differently and what kind of data models are running in the background. But essentially, the question that I asked back towards the end of the whole technology conversation was, look, sir, do we actually ensure fairness today if it was completely run by humans? I get 100 applicants for a job. How many of them do we really talk to? How many CVs do a recruiter process? Industry average 30 seconds to 40 seconds on a CV. Is that really giving a fair chance to a human being, really? You're evaluating a profile in under a minute. Is that really fair? So, and if you take customer service, and I connected it to customer service agents, which are happening, the amount of errors humans make in resolving end customer problems in the first level are so high. We just didn't have the courage to really look at that data so far, because now you're forced to decide. Do you want a system that's intelligent enough to kind of take up that role efficiently, and humans come in when there is a second level of intervention required? And that's when all this data that's coming out of huge enterprises, we've had so many articles coming out, so much research done on that. It's the same thing in recruiting. We're not talking to everybody. We're not processing every data to make a decision. So how on earth are we saying that AI systems are unfair and humans are more fair? That's where I was coming to. Anyway, so I know there's a very large conversation, Bill, and we've got a lot to cover. But maybe I'll take a couple more questions which I had, which came in from some of our audience as well earlier. Let's look at two things, right? One is towards the future, let's say 5 years. And I'm not taking 10 years, I'm not taking 20 years, because the speed in which things are moving, it's incredible. There's no point in thinking 10 years from now. 5 itself is like, being over, compensating for a lot of things. So recruiter's role is changing. AI for sure is coming one way or the other. Do you have specific areas where you think this augmentation is going to work more efficiently, for example?
Well, I think one of the things is that the data mining and information bubble, I call it bubble up, that will happen will enhance. So we have a lot of different issues, right? We have a worker shortage. Let's just start there. So as we have an aging population, we run into these issues. We're in a worker shortage. Then you back it up through the era of COVID. COVID actually created bigger problems that we haven't really addressed yet either. And so those 2 years of people changing, coming out of college, additional education things, the change in society that took place, we're now seeing the ripple effect of that. The work from home, work in the office effect, we're in the middle of also, by the way. That's we've got another 4 years at least on that. That will bubble itself up again too. And so the AI piece of it is actually going to help us when you look at 5 years down the road, because all of those functional pieces are going to be coming to a head over the next 24, 36 months. And we haven't even talked about or addressed that yet. And those are things that are underlying to the entire population in the world, not just one location. But then you also have areas of the world where you have population that is underemployed, that isn't being utilized in the right way still. So what we have to do is figure out, how do we utilize them better? For one, how do we look at these market caps where we have skill sets in certain areas that are missing, higher educational pieces that aren't there? Then we need to address rural areas. We have population growth happening in areas that we never thought people would be living in or moving to, that now all of a sudden we need to find workers that can live there, and they're like, I don't want to live there. And then you have gaps of housing problems. And that will be fixed, I believe, because the work back in the office transition is happening only because there are leases. And we're 4 to 5 years out, but as those leases come up, you'll see buildings changing to housing. We don't have enough. And so as that starts to transform and change, you'll start seeing positions and jobs and people working remote, and you'll see enhancements in technology, and not everybody, a lot more will have, 5 gigabytes of bandwidth speed, and we'll see all this technology change. And the AI will actually enhance what they're doing,
Right.
just like the microwave did. We're just in the beginning of this thing. This is just the beginning. And I am telling you, what people are screaming is ridiculous. And they need to calm down, and they need to take a look at it and figure out, how do they make it work for them? Because not everybody cooks in a microwave today, but we all have it around. And that's what we're going to look at. When we look back at this, it's going to be a microwave moment for society, for humans. But this is what we want. 5 years from now, we will all be speaking with AI, and we're not sure. Is it AI or is it a person or not? But 5 years from now, we're not going to care. Because 5 years from now, we're going to be so used to it, no big deal. It really isn't going to matter to us. I don't really care. We're close. And many times, even with the adaptive voice that we speak with on automated calls, they've been planting seeds. This has been seed dropping to get us familiar with it. My issue right now, the number of people that are scamming people with it, that's what's going to hurt the technology. We've got to figure out a way to keep it a trusted resource. I also think what you touched on about, the recruiting piece, I completely agree with you on that. It's going out to scour and find information and pull data that's freely available for anybody to search. I have a hard time believing there's a way to discriminate against anything that's found like that. It has to do with the person's experience and background. That's what we're looking for. I don't know. I'm sure that's going to come up, but I don't feel like it is a discriminating thing right now, because it's definitely out there searching, the LLMs to find, this large information and data that's already out there for people that's freely available.
Absolutely. I think that kind of really well summarizes our conversation as well, Bill, today. It's not about the hype. It's not about the myth. It's about looking inwards, creating trust, having systems, and having that belief system that these tools are going to be like a microwave moment that we kind of think of when we look at it 5 years from now. I would have loved to continue this, but we have to respect the time as well. Once again, Bill, thank you so much for sparing time, coming on our show and sharing this. Would love to do a subsequent podcast as well on something similar to this, slightly outside of the immediate recruiting per se, but more in the AI in common life going forward. But thank you so much once again, Bill. A pleasure to have you again, and we'll be in touch. Thank you so much.
Appreciate it very much.